There comes a moment in every soul's journey when it awakens to a powerful truth. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone is worthy of your time, your kindness, your empathy, your loyalty. It's a harsh truth, but a necessary one. For far too long, you may have poured your energy into people who only knew how to take and never how to give. You loved deeply, showed up without being asked, cared without condition, and stood by those who couldn't even clap when you were winning. But today, something changes. Today, you remember this: your energy is sacred, and it's time you stop wasting it on the unworthy. The beautiful and dangerous thing about the human heart is that it longs to connect. We are wired for belonging. We crave companionship, support, affection. And in that craving, we often mistake attachment for alignment. We confuse presence with partnership. And before we know it, we are emotionally investing in people who were only ever meant to be passengers, not permanent residents in the home of our hearts. Think about how many times you've stayed too long in relationships that drained you. Think about the moments you betrayed your own boundaries just to make someone else comfortable. How often have you been the one who reached out first, who apologized even when you were the one hurting, who kept giving benefit after benefit of the doubt to someone who consistently proved they didn't value you? You see, emotional detachment isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's the brave act of pulling back from a space where your presence is not honored. When you realize your energy is sacred, you begin to treat it like treasure. You don't just hand it out freely to anyone who shows up with empty intentions and pretty lies. You choose carefully, you observe, you protect. Protecting your energy doesn't mean building walls that no one can climb. It means creating doors with locks that only open to those who bring peace, respect, and honesty. It means no longer overextending yourself to keep someone else comfortable at the cost of your well-being. It means understanding that not everyone who wants access to you deserves it. You are not a rescue mission. You are not a fixer. You are not a container for other people's brokenness while they refuse to grow. If someone continually drains your joy, confuses your worth, and makes you question your value, they don't deserve your closeness. They don't deserve the front row seat to your life. And you must be the one to revoke that access lovingly, but firmly. People will take advantage of your softness if you let them. They will keep you in their lives not because they truly value you, but because they benefit from what you bring. And that's where discernment must rise. You have to know the difference between those who truly love you and those who simply love what you do for them. And once you see the difference, you cannot unsee it. Emotional detachment isn't just walking away, it's letting go without looking back. It's the decision to no longer allow someone to emotionally manipulate you, to no longer wait for them to change, apologize, or become the person you imagined they could be. It's knowing that some people are just lessons, not lifelines. And that's okay, because when you protect your energy, you create space for the right people to enter. You open the door to relationships built on reciprocity, respect, and real connection. You begin to heal in ways you didn't think were possible, simply because you're no longer constantly wounded by those who never had the capacity to love you right. There's a quiet power in walking away from someone without anger, without revenge, without bitterness. Just a calm, clear, powerful knowing I deserve better, and I will no longer waste my energy proving my worth to those who are blind to it. You weren't made to beg for basic decency. You weren't made to constantly question your place in someone's life. You were made to be cherished, to be celebrated, to be supported. And if someone cannot give you that, it's your responsibility to step back and protect your peace. This is not selfish. This is self-respect. Self-respect means that you stop overcompensating for people's lack of effort. It means you stop overextending yourself in the hope that they will one day meet you halfway. It means you stop keeping people in your life just because of history, when all they bring to your present is confusion and pain. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to emotionally detach from people you once gave your heart to. But you must understand, just because someone was part of your journey doesn't mean they're meant to be part of your destination. You can love someone and still choose to love yourself more. You can appreciate the memories and still release the person. Growth sometimes means outgrowing the people who once felt like home. And I promise you this, when you start treating your energy like it's sacred, your life changes. You begin to attract people who honor your soul. You begin to radiate a peace that draws the right kind of love. You begin to live lighter, freer, more aligned with your truth. You will no longer feel like you're constantly giving and never receiving. You will no longer feel exhausted from carrying relationships on your back. Instead, you'll feel balanced. You'll feel whole. You'll feel like you again. But it all starts with a choice, a decision to reclaim your emotional space, to filter who gets access to your spirit, and to stand in your worth without apology. It starts with understanding that not everyone gets to walk with you. Some must be loved from afar. Some must be remembered but not revisited. And some must simply be released. Release them. Release the need to fix them, to convince them, to hold space for them when they would never do the same for you. Release the guilt. Release the hope that they'll finally see your value, because you already know your value. And when you know your value, you don't beg anyone to recognize it. You don't chase, you choose. You choose peace. You choose clarity. You choose emotional balance. You choose to pour into people who pour back. You choose to be around those who lift you higher, not weigh you down. And you choose to walk away, not because you're heartless, but because your heart has finally learned its worth. Your energy is sacred. Protect it, honor it, nourish it, and most importantly, give it only to those who deserve it. There is a subtle form of self-destruction that often goes unnoticed. It doesn't come from addiction, failure, or loss. It comes from the quiet, aching habit of staying emotionally attached to people who continuously disrespect you. It's in those moments when you lower your standards to maintain connection. It's in the silent compromises you make in the name of love while your soul whispers that this isn't love at all. And this is the truth you must learn to face. Attachment without respect is self-betrayal. You see, love alone is never enough. No matter how deeply you care for someone, if they don't respect you, your boundaries, your voice, your values, then what you have is not connection, it's captivity. It's emotional imprisonment disguised as devotion. It's a wound you keep pressing on, hoping it will one day stop hurting. But wounds don't heal by being reopened again and again. They heal when you stop giving the blade to the one who keeps cutting you. Respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship. Without it, love becomes manipulation, intimacy becomes dependency, and communication becomes begging. You find yourself walking on eggshells, hiding your truth, afraid to speak your heart, because every time you do, you're met with silence, anger, or withdrawal. That is not love. That is not partnership. That is emotional erosion, and it slowly destroys your sense of self. You are not here to earn someone's basic decency. You are not created to tolerate inconsistency, neglect, or half-hearted affection. You deserve to be seen, heard, and valued, not just when it's convenient for them, but consistently in the quiet, daily ways that real respect is shown. If someone says they love you but treats you like an option, if they dismiss your feelings or invalidate your truth, then staying connected to them is not an act of loyalty. It's an act of self-abandonment. We live in a world that romanticizes endurance. We're told that love means holding on no matter what, but sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes the greatest act of love is the one you give to yourself, choosing to walk away from someone who cannot meet you at the level of your value. Because every time you stay in a space where your worth is ignored, you teach your heart to settle. And every time you ignore your own intuition, you betray the very voice that's trying to guide you to peace. You have to understand that people show you who they are in the way they treat you when you're vulnerable. Anyone can be kind when things are easy, when you're smiling, when you're giving. But what do they do when you're hurting, when you need support? When you express your needs or boundaries, that is where their respect or lack of it reveals itself. And when you continue to attach yourself to someone who has shown you repeatedly that they do not honor who you are, you begin to shrink. You start questioning your emotions, doubting your instincts, losing sight of your strength. You mold yourself to fit into spaces you were never meant to occupy. You silence your voice to keep the peace. But peace that requires your silence is not peace, it's oppression wearing a mask. So many people stay in emotionally imbalanced relationships because they are afraid of loneliness. But what they don't realize is that the loneliest place in the world is lying next to someone who makes you feel invisible. It's waking up every day next to someone whose presence reminds you of how much of yourself you've had to kill to keep them comfortable. That is not connection. That is captivity. Real love honors. Real love respects. Real love doesn't demand your silence, your sacrifice, or your suffering. And if you have to destroy your sense of self just to keep someone, then you are not in love, you are in bondage. The truth is, some people only love you when you make yourself small. And you must refuse to shrink to fit into their comfort zones. It's time to reclaim your worth. To understand that being alone with your peace is better than being with someone who disrupts it. It's time to look at your reflection and say, I deserve more than just being tolerated. I deserve more than emotional crumbs. I deserve to be cherished. And I will no longer stay attached to people who cannot respect me at the level I respect myself. This is not about hate. This is not about revenge or resentment. This is about liberation. It's about choosing to break the cycle, because when you detach from disrespect, you create space for something far more beautiful, self-respect, clarity, growth. You begin to heal the parts of you that learn to equate love with pain. You begin to realize that real connection doesn't cost your dignity. There is no shame in having loved someone deeply. The problem arises when that love blinds you to how you are being treated, when you keep making excuses for their behavior, when you keep hoping for change that never comes. Change doesn't happen through attachment. It happens through awareness. And when you become aware that you are betraying yourself just to keep someone else close, that's when you can begin to detach. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring about yourself enough to stop settling. It means you stop waiting for someone to see your value and start living like you already know it. It's saying, I love you, but I love me more. I care, but I cannot keep pouring from a cup that's already empty. I forgive you, but I'm done giving you access to the parts of me you've consistently hurt. This isn't weakness. It's strength. Walking away from someone you're emotionally attached to is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But it's also one of the most empowering, because you are not walking away from love. You are walking toward love, toward real love. The kind that starts within, the kind that says, I don't need to beg for respect. I am worthy of it just as I am. The more you honor your own energy, the more you become a magnet for people who do the same. People who won't need to be reminded of your worth. People who won't require you to overextend or overexplain. People who see you clearly, who show up fully, who respect you deeply. But before those people come, you must do the work, the inner work. The work of detaching from what hurts, of breaking the trauma bond, of grieving the illusion of what could have been. You must walk through the fire of discomfort to reach the freedom of peace. You must give yourself permission to release, even when it hurts, even when it shakes you, even when every part of you wants to go back. Because on the other side of that release is rebirth. You will find pieces of yourself you forgot existed. You will rediscover your voice, your laughter, your creativity, your power. You will no longer define yourself by how someone else treats you, but by how you choose to treat yourself. And that is the ultimate freedom. So remember, this attachment without respect is self-betrayal. And you were not born to betray yourself for the sake of anyone. You were born to stand tall, to speak boldly, to love fiercely, but never at the cost of your own soul. Choose you not because you're selfish, but because you're finally wise enough to realize that your heart, your energy, your life deserve nothing less than deep, unwavering respect. Letting go is one of the hardest things the human heart will ever do. Not because you're weak, not because you don't understand what's best for you, but because you're human, and humans love to hold on. We hold on to people, to memories, to emotions, to the idea of what could have been. We carry the weight of disappointment and call it hope. We replay conversations, read between silences, and look for meaning in moments that were never meant to last. But there comes a point, a breaking point, where you have to decide, do I keep holding on to what hurts me, or do I choose myself? That moment, when you release what you thought you couldn't live without, is when you begin to truly live. Letting go is not bitterness. Letting go is not failure. Letting go is the highest form of self-love. So many people think letting go is about erasing people, pretending they never mattered. But that's not what it is. Letting go is acknowledging that they mattered, but they no longer align with the person you're becoming. It's saying, you were part of my journey, and I thank you for it. But this chapter ends here. You don't let go out of anger. You let go from a place of peace. A place of understanding that not everything lost is a tragedy. Sometimes it's divine protection. Sometimes it's life-clearing space for what your soul truly needs. You can love someone deeply and still walk away from them. That's a truth most hearts struggle to accept. We grow up thinking that love means staying, love means sacrificing, love means enduring. But real love also means recognizing when you're no longer growing. Real love doesn't thrive in a place where you're constantly questioned, constantly diminished, or constantly giving without receiving. And when you let go of someone who makes you feel small, you're not being cruel, you're being courageous. The hardest part of letting go is not the release itself. It's the silence that follows. It's the nights when you reach for your phone out of habit. It's the songs that carry memories. It's the moments when your heart tries to convince your mind that maybe you made a mistake, but you didn't. You simply chose to stop waiting for someone to become who you needed. You chose to stop editing yourself to be loved. You chose yourself, and that's a choice worth honoring. Letting go isn't about proving a point. It's not about showing them you're strong or making them regret losing you. That's ego. Letting go is deeper than that. It's about freeing your soul from the cage of false hope. It's about no longer checking your worth through someone else's inability to see it. You're not less because someone failed to recognize your value. You're not broken because someone walked away. You are whole even with a heart that aches. You are healing. Even when the tears fall, you are powerful even when your hands are shaking. Healing doesn't happen all at once. Some days you'll feel like you've moved on, and other days the grief will hit you like a wave. But every tear you cry is a piece of pain leaving your body. Every moment of sadness is your soul detoxing from attachment. You must be gentle with yourself. You must forgive yourself for loving someone who didn't stay. You must give yourself permission to heal without guilt. You don't owe anyone your continued suffering. Just because someone was once important to you doesn't mean they have the right to keep hurting you, whether through their presence or your memory of them. You are allowed to close the door even if there was no proper goodbye. You are allowed to move on without explanation. Not every departure needs a dramatic ending. Some people quietly fade from your life, and that's okay. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you create within yourself. There is immense strength in being able to walk away without resentment. To say, I wanted us to work, but I'm not chasing you anymore. That is maturity. That is growth. That is emotional intelligence. You stop trying to fix what was never whole to begin with. You stop begging people to see your light, and you start pouring that light back into yourself. It's easy to romanticize the past, to think about the good times and forget the pain. But nostalgia is a beautiful liar. It often highlights the laughter and hides the tears. Don't let your memory trick you into going back to a place you had to heal from. Remind yourself of why you had to let go. Not to reopen the wound, but to reinforce your strength. You didn't walk away because you stopped caring. You walked away because you finally started caring about yourself. Letting go means creating space for new people, space for peace, space for joy. It means you stop replaying old stories and start writing new ones. It means your identity is no longer tied to who hurt you, but to who you're becoming. You are not your heartbreak. You are not your rejection. You are not the mistakes you made while learning to love. You are a masterpiece in progress, a beautiful work of resilience, a soul reborn from the ashes of what you had to leave behind. Don't fear the emptiness that letting go leaves behind. That emptiness is not a void, it's a canvas, and you get to choose what you paint on it next. Will you fill it with resentment or with renewal? Will you carry the past like a burden or wear it like a badge of honor that proves you had the strength to rise? That space is sacred. Fill it wisely. People will not always understand your decision to let go. They might call you cold, heartless, distant. But they were never the ones lying awake at night questioning their worth. They were never the ones who cried quietly while pretending to be okay. They were never the ones who had to patch together the pieces of a soul that someone else shattered. You don't need their approval. You only need your peace. And that peace, it's worth everything. When you let go, you begin to hear your own voice again. You start to dream new dreams. You start to fall in love with your solitude. You start to realize that being alone is not the same as being lonely. There is power in your own presence. There is magic in your own company. And as you heal, you attract better, not just in people, but in opportunities, in experiences in life itself. You must understand the version of you that kept holding on no longer exists. They were strong in their own way, but they were tired of trying to prove their worth, tired of fighting for a place in someone's life, tired of waiting for validation. That version of you did their best, but now it's time to evolve. Now it's time to rise. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without pain. It means being able to look back and smile. Not because it was perfect, but because it taught you something. Every heartbreak is a lesson in strength. Every goodbye is an invitation to come home to yourself, and every ending is the beginning of something new. So breathe. Let the memories flow, but don't let them anchor you. Feel the grief, but don't let it drown you. Love the past, but don't live in it. Letting go isn't a one-time event. It's a daily decision. A choice to keep moving forward, even when the past whispers your name. And who are you becoming now? You are becoming someone who no longer settles, someone who knows their worth. Someone who radiates peace, not pain. Someone who walks with grace, not grudges. Someone who can love without losing themselves. Someone who lets go not because they're giving up, but because they're growing up. This is your moment, your turning point, your liberation. Let go. Not with bitterness, but with love. Not because they didn't matter, but because you do. Not because you're heartless, but because you finally have a heart that knows its value. Letting go is not the end. It is the beginning. And what comes next is beautiful. There's a certain kind of power in silence that most people will never understand. It's not the silence of giving up. It's not the silence of weakness. It's the silence of someone who has finally decided to stop explaining, to stop defending, to stop proving their worth to those who never intended to see it in the first place. There is a profound strength in choosing not to argue, not to beg, not to chase, because silence speaks louder than any justification ever could. It's the language of self-respect. It's the anthem of emotional freedom. We live in a world that glorifies reaction. Say something, post something, fight back, speak louder, make your point. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to walk away, not with bitterness, not with revenge in your heart, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they deserve better. There was a time when you may have thought that proving your love, your loyalty, or your intention meant constantly explaining yourself. Maybe you wrote long messages trying to be understood. Maybe you cried, pleaded, or overcompensated, thinking that if they just got it, they'd treat you better. But here's the truth: people who genuinely respect you don't need explanations to value you. They don't require essays to recognize your worth. They see it, they feel it, and they rise to meet it. Silence is not about punishment. It's not about being passive-aggressive. It's about choosing peace over performance. It's about protecting your energy instead of pouring it in empty cups. When someone continually makes you feel unseen, unheard, or unwanted, your silence becomes a statement, not of hate, but of healing. You no longer feel the need to argue your side because you understand that some people are not interested in truth. They're interested in control. When you go silent, you're not disappearing. You're reappearing somewhere else, within yourself. You're pulling back into your own presence. You're creating space between you and the chaos. You're no longer handing your emotional power to people who misuse it. Instead, you're reclaiming it word by quiet word, breath by steady breath. You see, when you stop begging people to stay, to understand, or to change, you give yourself the freedom to breathe. You begin to heal in the spaces where words once failed. You realize that not every conversation deserves your voice. Not every conflict is worth your spirit. Some people thrive on your reaction. They feed on your emotions, your attention, your effort. And the moment you stop giving it to them, the moment you go silent, not cold, not cruel, just quiet, they feel the loss more deeply than any argument ever could. Silence is the sound of boundaries. It's the sound of emotional maturity. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about choosing your battles with wisdom. It's about knowing when to speak and when to let your absence say everything. Sometimes walking away says more than standing there trying to be heard. Sometimes no response is the response. And in that sacred pause, in that deliberate stillness, your soul begins to speak in ways the world cannot ignore. There will be people who mistake your silence for weakness. Let them. There will be people who think your distance is arrogance. Let them. You are not responsible for the narratives people create in their minds about you. You are only responsible for honoring your truth. And sometimes that truth is better guarded in silence than spoken in desperation. It takes incredible strength to not respond, to not clap back, to not justify your actions when you know your intentions were pure. It takes discipline to sit in your own calm while others try to provoke you into storms. But that is what emotional intelligence looks like. It's the ability to remain grounded when everything around you is demanding a reaction. It's the ability to say, I will not lower my vibration to meet your chaos. I will rise in my stillness. Your silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've decided to care about yourself too. And that is not selfish. That is survival. You've realized that repeating yourself doesn't make them listen. Explaining your boundaries doesn't make them respect them. So you stop talking. You stop convincing. You stop dancing in circles, trying to prove a point to someone who benefits from pretending they don't see it. When you go silent, the energy shifts. The dynamics change. The games lose their power because silence cannot be manipulated. It cannot be twisted or misinterpreted. It simply is. It's solid. It's unshakable. And in a world full of noise, your silence becomes the loudest declaration of all I am done. And that done doesn't come from hatred. It comes from clarity. You are done sacrificing your peace to maintain connections that drain you. Done giving explanations to people committed to misunderstanding you. Done lowering your standards to make others comfortable. Done tolerating behavior that disrespects your heart. Done staying in places that dishonor your presence. When you embrace silence, you begin to see clearly. You hear your intuition louder. You feel your own emotions more authentically. You become deeply acquainted with your own strength. You start to realize that not everyone deserves access to you, not because you're better, but because your spirit is sacred. And sacred things are not handed out carelessly. They are protected, cherished, and offered only where they are truly valued. The world may tell you to scream your worth to prove your strength, but you don't need to. Your calm is your crown. Your silence is your sword. You carry both with grace, because silence doesn't mean absence. It means presence. It means standing so firmly in who you are that you no longer need outside validation. You no longer need to be chosen by people who treat you like an option. This silence is not empty. It is full of wisdom, full of power, full of self-love. It says, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I refuse to engage with anything that tries to make me forget that. Oh, you are no longer giving away your peace for cheap applause. You are no longer sacrificing your inner stillness for shallow connection. You are no longer chasing closure because you've given it to yourself. The conversations you used to crave, you now release. The validation you used to seek, you now give inwardly. The battles you used to fight, you now walk past. Let your silence be your sanctuary. Let it be the place you go when the world tries to shake you. Let it be the answer to disrespect. Let it be the shield that protects your peace. Let it be the proof of your growth. Because at the end of the day, anyone can scream. Anyone can react, but not everyone can be still in the storm. You who has been through so much, you who has been misunderstood, mistreated, misjudged, you who has cried behind closed doors, fought silent battles, and kept showing up. You don't need to explain your journey, you only need to live it. And sometimes the most profound chapter of that journey is written not with words, but with silence. So stop explaining your value, stop proving your worth, stop begging to be understood. Your silence says it all. And in that silence, you are not invisible, you are invincible. You deserve to be chosen without asking. Let those words echo in your heart like a promise, like a truth you've always known but may have forgotten in the noise of unreciprocated love, unanswered messages, and forced connections. You deserve to be someone's undeniable choice, not a convenient option, not a maybe, not a when it's easy. You deserve to be held in the kind of love that doesn't need convincing, chasing, or constant proving. Because love, when it's real, does not ask you to beg for it. It offers itself freely, gently, and without hesitation. Too many times, we fall into the trap of trying to earn affection. We believe that if we just love harder, give more, shrink less, speak softer, or stay longer, someone will finally see us, truly see us, and choose us the way we so desperately want to be chosen. But love that must be earned through struggle is not love. It's a transaction, and you are not for sale. Your heart is not a discount item waiting for someone to pick it up when they're finally ready. You are a soul meant to be cherished without negotiation. Somewhere along the way, you may have learned that your worth is tied to someone else's ability to accept you. That love is a reward for performance. That if you just try a little harder, show a little more patience, or forgive a little more than you should, they'll stay. But how many times have you given your heart to someone who held it carelessly? How many times have you silenced your needs so theirs could speak louder? How many nights have you stayed awake wondering why you weren't enough? Let me remind you now, you were always enough. You were always worthy. The problem was never your love. It was that you gave it to people who didn't know what to do with something so pure. People who were too broken to hold what you offered. People who were looking for attention, not connection. And still, you kept giving. Because that's who you are, a giver. A heart that beats deeply, even when it's been bruised. But it's time to shift that narrative. It's time to stop giving to those who only take. It's time to stop placing your self-worth in the hands of those who drop it. You are not here to audition for love. You are here to experience love that sees you, chooses you, and values you without you needing to fight for it. Being chosen is not about grand gestures or poetic words. It's about consistency. It's about someone showing up for you, not just on the good days, but on the hard ones too. Someone who doesn't just call you beautiful, but makes you feel safe. Someone who doesn't make you question where you stand, but assures you with actions that you belong. Someone who doesn't wait until you're fed up to realize what they had, but values you in real time. You deserve that. Not someday. Not when they're ready. Not when they've finished playing games. Now, you deserve to be chosen by someone who doesn't need to lose you to appreciate you. Someone who doesn't make you beg for reassurance, time, or effort. Someone who meets you where you are and says, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. And if that person hasn't arrived yet, don't lower your standards just to fill the space. Loneliness with integrity is better than company with compromise. Don't water yourself down so someone else can feel comfortable. Don't become less so someone else can feel like more. Your depth is not the problem. Their inability to swim is. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not too emotional. You are exactly the kind of soul this world needs more of. Raw, real, unfiltered love. And if someone can't see that, let them go. Release them with grace. Wish them healing. But do not, under any circumstances, allow their lack of vision to dim your light. You don't have to chase love. The right person won't run. The right person won't play games. They won't leave you on read. They won't show up only when it's convenient. They'll be there in the small ways, in the quiet moments, in the daily acts of care that say, I see you. I choose you. Every single day, there's something sacred about being chosen without asking. It's the way someone looks at you and sees home, the way they hold your hand like it's a privilege, the way they listen when you speak, not because they have to, but because they genuinely care, the way they show up for you, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard, when you're tired, when you're broken. That's love. That's the kind of connection you deserve. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to explain why you're valuable. You don't need to beg for what should be freely given. You simply need to be. And in your being, the right one will find you. Not because you forced it, but because your energy called to them in the way only truth can. Love doesn't live in pressure, it lives in presence, it lives in choice, and you deserve to be someone's choice, not their convenience. So take a deep breath, let go of the people who didn't choose you, not because you're unlovable, but because they weren't ready for the love you offer. Not everyone is meant to go with you, not everyone is meant to stay. But every person who walks away clears the path for someone better. For someone who sees you not as a backup plan, but as a blessing. Wait for the one who chooses you without games, without delay, without hesitation. Wait for the one who loves you in full, not in fractions. Wait for the one who looks at you and says, there you are, I've been waiting for you. And until they arrive, keep choosing yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your joy. Choose your standards. Choose your worth. Because the moment you stop asking to be chosen, the universe begins to shift. It begins to align with your energy. It begins to send you people who are capable of loving at the level you love. People who don't just take from you, but pour back into you. People who honor your heart because they recognize how rare it is. And when you meet them, you'll know there will be no confusion, no anxiety, no questioning, just clarity, just calm, just a steady, unwavering presence that feels like home. That's what you're waiting for. That's what you deserve. So never again ask to be chosen. Walk like you already are. Move like you're already loved. Speak like you are already enough because you are. And when the world tries to convince you otherwise, when someone makes you feel small or second or uncertain, remind yourself of this truth. I am not asking to be chosen. I am choosing myself. And that is the most beautiful choice of all.